Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is Where Are They Now for August of 2021, taking a look at all the reviews and things I covered last year. It looks like August only has 3 survivors, well, technically 4, and technically more if you count prototypes. Let's go ahead and dive into it. As usual, we're taking a look at all the games I reviewed last year, August 2021, covering whether the reviews have changed, haven't changed, all the general thoughts and feelings I have around them. As usual, starting off with the section of the games I have not played since reviewing it, which is usually the largest section because I cover a lot of prototypes and games that are leaving after I play them. In any case, starting off the bat with Shamans. Shamans was a retail game, gave that one a 3. It's still probably a 3 for me. I don't miss the game. I think it was a very interesting concept with trick taking that I actually have learned to like a lot more. But overall, I had some complaints around the game that made it harder for me to quite appreciate the way I would like to. I thought it was an excellent concept, very pretty and beautiful to look at, but more gameplay issues that, even though I was compelled by aspects of it, ultimately not a game for me. We have Gods of Dinosaurs from Dinosaurs Games, a 3.5 out of 5. That one was a solid game, really enjoyed it, got to play it a bunch, and then it was just an issue of whether it was going to get tabled or not. For me, ultimately, Gods of Dinosaurs, I think my comparison point to it was Ecos from AEG, which I prefer. It gives me this very similar feeling, but I prefer Ecos. I've spoken to people who felt the exact opposite way, though, so take it with a grain of salt. But for me, I enjoy Gods of Dinosaurs. I just have too many games that fall into that light enjoyment category, and Ecos was my go-to pick there. We have Black Rose Wars Rebirth, which I gave a 4 out of 5. That's one that's a prototype coverage. Did not have that copy right now. I mean, that's Black Rose Wars. It's an upcoming, well, I'm saying this all poorly. Black Rose Wars Rebirth was a prototype that I covered, so I have not covered it since. I stand by the general opinion I have around Black Rose Wars in general, which is I think it's an amazing system, and it is complex to dive into, and I find it's the kind of game that works well for game groups that are repeating that are more likely to dive into the same games again and again. Ultimately, we'll see when the final game arrives. We have Spire's End Hildegard, which is a 3.5 out of 5. That was a story game, it's a follow-up from Spire's End. This is the Hildegard version of it. Hildegard, I never played the original Spire's End. I did play Hildegard. I enjoyed the little solo puzzly adventure of going through it, using your sling to try to take down the various enemies. It was to me, it felt very linear and not a ton of agency, past choose your own adventure agency. I mean, there's lots of choose your own adventure, but it's more of a story game than more of a mechanically driven game. I did enjoy it, but didn't blow my mind, but also pretty solidly compelling for a small solo adventure. 3.5 out of 5. It was a prototype, have not played it since. We have Flamecraft, which should be delivering. That one's a 3 out of 5 to me. Definitely a lighter game, a game that I only have because my kids would like to play it and enjoy it. But it's a very compelling gateway experience. I think it's a solid game for gateway. I just think for me it's not as much. It's never a game that I'm going to recommend or pick, but it's a game I'm happy to table and play. We did get it because, like I said, my kids like it and want to dive into it more. But that one's a 3 out of 5 and no change because I have not played it since. We have Dragonbond. Dragonbond was a 4 out of 5. Dragonbond Lords of Vaala. Really enjoyed Dragonbond. It was a very enjoyable game that I didn't like the look of the game. The aesthetic look just looked very dry, but the actual gameplay of the generals merging with the dragons, it led to some very interesting decisions. Overall, I really liked the game it gave me, while being very curious as to how it'll hold up when I get into it again. I did go ahead and back that one. Very excited for it to arrive and see how it holds up. It's one of those games that falls into the cusp of, I really liked it, but, will it hold up for me, or did I enjoy it more in the moment? I don't know, but I haven't played it since, so we'll see. We have Arydia. Arydia, the Past We Dare Tread. That was a 5 out of 5. My excitement for there is exactly the same as it has been. I am a drop concerned about how much it'll hit the table. I actually just did a video recently of the top 10 games I'm looking forward to getting, and Arydia is on that list because I'm very much looking forward to getting that one. I am a drop concerned about how frequently and how often it'll hit the table, but I really enjoyed the combination of RPG, of story, of adventure, of combat. Overall, I thought it did an amazing job of just being such a well-done adventure. It felt like a video game and a board game, more so than any video game I've played, more so than any board game I've played. It felt like a video game captured in a board game feel, and not like with an app. There's no app or anything like that. I'm saying without the technology, it gave me that immersive feeling. And then lastly, for the games we have not played, we have Threetale. Threetale, which is a game that I really enjoyed. Threetale. I have reasonable complaints against it, but ultimately to me, despite the reasonable complaints, I just enjoy Threetale. I'm very excited to get this one. I'll happily play this one solo. I'll happily play with others. I basically consider it a stat-building game. The entire game is about building up your stats to dive into the final adventure and hope you've powered up enough to actually persevere and follow through it. I liked it. It was simple. It was compelling. It wasn't too simple. It was a lot of choices, lots of how you build your character, what stats you're going to increase, how you're going to build up your abilities as you try to move forward towards the end game. I just really liked it. Found it strongly addicting in a very satisfying way. But again, have not played it. 4 out of 5. We have the games that have not changed. These are games I have played more of, but my opinion has not changed of them, just in case, that matters or whatnot. But Exploding Kittens, a 2 out of 5. And yes, I've played it since reviewing it because I kept it for my daughter and we've continued to play it. I don't like Exploding Kittens. It's okay. It's not bad. It's really not bad. It's just not a very good game either. It's just, okay, draw some cards, play some cards, see who wins. Very common genre that has been elevated because of the art and the following that what's his name? The Oatmeal has. But yeah, Exploding Kittens, still a 2 out of 5. My opinion hasn't changed. Happy to play it to make my daughter happy. Not going to ask for it myself. We have MicroMacro. Now this is a tricky one, and this is the one that I said 3, technically 4 games are still here. So MicroMacro I actually have not played since... I haven't played? I'd have to take a look. I don't remember where I filmed my review of it, because I can't remember if I filmed my review after playing all the missions, or if I played all the missions and filmed my review. Either way, MicroMacro is a game that I have gotten the next version, MicroMacro Crime City Full House, whatever it was. I have that. Still haven't finished that one. That one's still on the shelf. Still enjoy MicroMacro. I give it a 4 to 5, and I stand by that one. That's a solid... It's more of a experience than a game, so that is the caveat I would give. But once you're grading it as an experience, I just think it really does a great job of giving you a Where's Waldo detective story game that just pulls characters, it pulls people in. I think it plays best either solo or with 2 players. I do not think it works well with larger groupings. Just too many people trying to peer over the same areas of the map. But I really like the Where's Waldo experience that MicroMacro gives you. We have the Whatnot cabinet over here, 3.5 out of 5. I've continued to play this one. It's actually probably become one of my favorite pencil first games. From their small box games where you're just making small little elegant choices, I think the Whatnot cabinet might be my favorite from them. It just has a nice visual appeal. And just works. I don't know. I mean, they have a bunch of games that fall into the same genre and they all work. I actually like Sunset Over Water a lot too. Have not reviewed that one, but I like Sunset Over Water. But either way, the Whatnot cabinet, I really enjoy the one, 3.5 out of 5. It's light, it's accessible, it's not my, amazing, oh my gosh game, but it's a solid game that I enjoy playing. And then we have Mythic Mischief, which I have been fortunate enough to table multiple times because I never stopped playing this one. Mythic Mischief was a prototype that I actually kept on my game shelf. Like, my actual game shelf, I kept it because I think Mythic Mischief is amazing, and I think it's incredibly enjoyable, and I always have fun playing this one. But overall, Mythic Mischief is a 5 out of 5 for me, has been a 5 out of 5, still is a 5 out of 5. It is a little AP prone, analysis paralysis prone. You have to be comfortable with the fact that players are going to want to take back the moves and redo things, but past that, I just think it's so tactically rewarding. It has enough asymmetry to keep you engaged. I just really, really enjoy it. It has Blitz mode, it has regular competitive mode, it has Blitz co-op team mode, not co-op mode, team mode. But overall, I really enjoy Mythic Mischief. Opinion has not changed there at all. It's just a fantastic game. Which finally brings us to reviews that have changed in some way. As usual, this does not always mean a rating change. In fact, today I think we have like 1 rating change and that's it. But sometimes it just means, hey, this game was in my collection, and even though I keep the same rating, it did eventually leave my collection, which that tends to happen a bit more. I still consider that an update because, well, it's an update to a degree. In any case, starting off the bat with Trickshot. Trickshot was a 4 to 5. It did eventually leave my collection. That's the only change. There's no change to the rating. Still a 4 to 5. Really enjoy it. To me, Trickshot was a game that falls into a 2-player game that plays best when you're playing the full rounds, which means it usually was 90 minutes plus for a direct 2-player head-to-head game. And there's only one person really in my group who was playing that game with me. For the most part, the other games we tried playing were more different style of game. More of a sports-based game, is a little bit outside the realm of what we typically play. So there's one person I played with, and we just found other games to play as well that we also liked. So Trickshot was just losing to not a lot of playtime for the category of game it is. Although I will say, I believe they have a 2nd edition coming out, which I believe I'll probably be covering, so maybe that changes my mind if it rates higher. But overall, I thought Trickshot was really, really good at what it did. To me, it's just one of those games that a few of these are just losing to other spots because there's always games that are taking those spots. Then we have Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig with the expansion. That's a 3.5 out of 5. I really like the Between Two Castles game. For me, the only problem, similar to the spot conversation, I just find that Between Two Castles is a game that plays best for me, or I pulled it out primarily when we have like 5 or 6 people at the table, and I find I just pull out other games instead. And first of all, it's a rare player count for me nowadays. Pre-pandemic, it was more of a player count, but nowadays it just doesn't happen quite as often. And so games that play best at higher player counts, they're just less. Meaning at lower player counts, I'm always going to pick other games that play at 3 and 4. Usually it's at 5 or 6 where it got to see some light, and I'm still going to pick games like Seven Wonders over it. I'm still going to pick games like Ethnos over it. So I think it's just losing to other games in that spot. I do enjoy it. I think it's a solid game, worth checking out if you have players at that player count. For me, games like Tiny Towns and Between Two Castles just lost out because of the nature of when I'd play them, and they weren't getting picked. But a 3.5, good game, worth recommending. Then we have Cthulhu Wars, which was a 4 out of 5. Really like Cthulhu Wars a lot. Also, it's a 4 out of 5 in a genre where I have 4.5s and 5s out of 5s, and so Cthulhu Wars ultimately left the collection. I think it's a great game. I really do. But it's one that, as much as we enjoyed playing it every single time we played it, it got to a point where I just wouldn't ever request it and would only play it if someone else was asking, and that actually kept in the collection for it because we had one person who would ask for it, and eventually got to a point where even they weren't asking for it, and that's when it kind of left. At that point, we played our other classic area control games. I think Cthulhu Wars is fantastic. I think if you want to dive into it, there's a ton of content out there for the game, and for me, I'm good. I'll move on from it. Anyways, from there we have Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road, which is another one that's a 4 out of 5 that also left the collection. Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road, I kept in my collection for quite some time. I played it once or twice more, but eventually it became another conversation around. It's a solid Euro game that I gave a 4 to 5, and solid Euro games that are 4 to 5s usually leave. I have my 4.5s and my 5s in that category. Games like Coimbra, games like Caverna, games like Lorenzo Magnifico. There's so many, Anno 1800, Brass. Oh my gosh, there's so many amazing solid Euro games that Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road, to me was a 4 to 5, an enjoyable experience, but one that was always going to lose towards the 4.5s and the 5s, and eventually, after a few more plays, it did indeed lose. And then lastly, we have Assassin's Creed over here. Assassin's Creed is the only one I'm giving a rating change. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 at the time, and I'm definitely bumping it to a 4.5. I think it's an incredible game. An incredible game. I really thoroughly enjoy Assassin's Creed. It is so rewarding to play this. I love it. I just love the game. Also, one day it will leave the collection, just to give you a heads up from there. I don't know exactly when, but at a certain point, maybe I finish the campaign, maybe I get rid of it then, maybe I play it more, I don't know. I think Assassin's Creed is amazing. I really, really do. I kind of wish this was more one-shot based instead of campaign based. I think the campaign does add a level of something that wouldn't be there without the campaign, but I'd almost prefer it was set up as a scenario based, which just pull these cards, pull that, and just like I wish they had the progression through the sense of a campaign, a single shot adventures, as opposed to an actual campaign. It just makes it harder for me to table. I love the game. I think it's so rewarding when I play this, and as reason it is continues to sit on my shelf. It's still here. It's still here. It will almost certainly leave one day. For right now, today is not that day. In fact, today is getting a rating boost from when I rated it, just because of how good it is. It's such a good puzzle. It's I primarily play it solo. You play it with other players. I think I've enjoyed it most solo because I have played with other players, but I definitely enjoyed my solo time more than the rest. But yeah, Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood of Venice, from Triton Noir. I just got into my whole V Commandos pledge, and I'll have to unbox and play that at some point. If the V Commandos system holds up as the one-shot system, I mean, I've played V Commandos before, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I do not have a firm answer. What I do know is this is an amazing experience, and I'm already sad for the fact that I think one day it will leave. But for today it's a 4.5. In any case, and until next time, that is Where Are They Now for August of 2021. We're closing in on a year in this series, which means now we get to make a decision as to whether I start looking back at things I covered 2 years ago, or whether I just skip 1 year and go straight to whether I skip the 2-year mark and go straight to the 3-year mark. I don't know. We'll find out. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.